I'm not sure what kind of circus you're running here, but I'm not going to be a part of it. Oh, why not? You're the star, after all. Night descended upon a camp, a perfectly regular, normal night. It was one of those nights when dark skies, stars, and even a crescent moon don't cause any special feelings, and the chirping of crickets and the songs of the night birds seem more like routine work noises than the nocturnal chores. In a few minutes all the pioneers were lining up in the square. It was quite late already, and fatigue took its toll, so our lineup wasn't perfectly aligned. It looked to me more like a line of Vikings after a successful battle where the warriors are happy and smiling, anticipating their return to their families rather than thinking about maintaining correct formation. But someone else could possibly see a completely defeated troop or a bunch of survivors who have to march to their homeland with the last of their strength. Thanks everyone, and now go to sleep, it's late already. Pioneers quickly each ran their own ways, and I was left together with the camp leader. And we should go too. We went in complete silence to Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. Okay, let's sleep, she said, turning off the light. I was tossing and turning for quite a while, recalling all the events of the day. On the one hand, I was overcome with fatigue. On the other hand, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd forgotten something, done something wrong, said something wrong. This feeling of incompleteness was tormenting me. It was about 2 a.m. All bad things would end sooner or later, or at least would take a break. So we were so close to... Oh, it's not a new day yet? I fell asleep. It is a new day. I should have ended it here last time. I don't know what time it was when Olga Dmitrievna woke me up, but even before opening my eyes, I felt the imminence of death. My whole body ached, I felt dizzy, my mind was clouded by haze. Semyon, wake up immediately or you'll miss breakfast and, more importantly, the lineup. Looks like the camp leader intends to exploit me to the fullest today, the same as any other day. I garbled something, covered my head with the blanket, and turned to the wall. In the end, Olga Dmitrievna's anger will never go beyond words. At least I really wanted to believe so then. Stand up right now, or what? I was going to say triumphantly, but kept silent. Not because of fear, just because I felt too lazy to open my mouth. Really, what could you do to me? Lecture me at the lineup? Hang my photo on the wall of shame? I mean, if you have a wall of shame, probably. Or use me for inhuman alien experiments? Well, I'm ready for that too, just let me sleep a couple of hours. Okay, but if you miss the lineup, doors slammed behind the camp leader and the sleep, which had been about to fade, claimed my mind again. Poor Olga, man. I woke up dazzled by sunlight. It was 1 p.m. according to my cell phone, which was squeezing the last drop of charge out of its battery. Strangely enough, my body didn't ache. My head felt clearer, and all in all, it was a good beginning to the day. After waving my arms pretending to do early exercises, I sprang out of the cabin and headed to the wash dance. Yeah, I slept through breakfast, but we'll be served lunch soon, so I shouldn't worry that I'll have to stay hungry like I did yesterday. Along the way, I met a pioneer whose face somehow looked strangely familiar. But I was going so fast I couldn't really see him, and when I turned around he was already gone around the corner. There was nobody near the wash dance. Everyone is probably busy with Olga Dmitrievna's tasks and God knows what else. I quickly brushed my teeth, washed my face, and was already going to leave when I suddenly heard the sound of water flowing from the opposite tap. A pioneer leaned against the washstand over there. I couldn't see his face, but judging by his figure, he looked like the one I saw a couple of minutes ago. How are you doing? The sun's so bright today. I looked up into the sky, shielding my eyes with my palm. Yeah, nothing special. It wasn't easy to get a better look at the pioneer given the way he stood, the bright sunlight that reflected from the water and shiny metal surfaces of the washstands heavily obscured his face, and I wasn't able to distinguish any single feature. The camp leader is angry today, so angry. His voice sounded painfully familiar too. Well, she's always like that. Well, you'd know better, yeah? I tried to remember if I've ever heard this voice or seen this pioneer before. Well, see ya. He turned the water off and quickly marched towards the forest path. For a second I thought of following him, stopping him, but I quickly fought it off. as I decided that it's not worth spoiling such a great morning with suspicions and burdensome speculations. Nature was glowing with the bright light of life. Lush treetops were rhythmically swaying in the wind, whispering to each other. The breeze gently stroked the high emerald grass. Birds were cooing in the shade, escaping the midday heat. The woods and fields, stretching beneath the horizon, were dissolving in warm sunlight. I don't know which month is it now, but it looks like midsummer. I distinctly remember the summer vacation of my childhood and youth. Times of fun leisure and carefree joy. Childhood games, how many there were. I wouldn't say no to playing war games or hide and seek now, or swinging on a bungee. Swinging on a bungee is fun. Or maybe building a sandcastle and inhabiting it with toy soldiers. Ready to defend their master to the last drop of their plastic blood. I went to the square and sat on... Kitty, stop smelling my toes. I went to the square and sat on the bench, waiting for lunch. It looked like there wasn't much time left before it. From time to time, pioneers passed by me, sometimes alone, sometimes in pairs or groups of 3. But always someone I didn't know. Alisa, Uliana, Olina, or Slavia were nowhere to be seen. Thoughts about the meaninglessness of existence were circling in my brain, but this didn't worry me on such a beautiful day. You forgot Miku, by the way. Just think about it. Who could think of grieving for his life lived in vain or lost early while basking in the rays of such a friendly sun? You think too much, dude. Certainly not me. I looked upon Jenda. He was meditating, as always. Now he definitely never gets any unnecessary doubts. I remember my first hours in this camp and the day before. The anguish, the anxiety, and fear. That all seems so far away now, although so little time has passed. Will I get out of here or not? It didn't concern me as much as before. Maybe I'm already dead. And this is the last stop. Please get off the train. What are you thinking about? I looked up and saw the pioneer I'd seen before. I couldn't see his face again, as the sun was shining in my eyes. Like always. You can't see him for a reason. You know, life. It seemed he would sit down next to me, but the pioneer stayed in the same place only half-turned, which completely killed any hope of seeing his face. Listen, have we met earlier? I don't think I remember you. Well, let's say that you know who I am. But I don't. I laughed sincerely. Here. You don't? He answered short. I see. Here you don't. Ah. Honestly, it's not like I didn't want to talk. I just didn't know what to talk about. And my soul was so calm. This didn't bother me. Your first time here? He asked the question, but his tone implied he was only expecting a confirmation. Yes. And you? Me? He paused for a few seconds. Nah, it's not my first time here. One might say that I visit this camp every year since my early childhood. Such an answer got me interested. Well, and what was it like before? It's always the same. Olga Dimitrievna being the camp leader, all the same pioneers around, all the same lineups at the morning, and all these wicked accidents. For a moment, I thought that it was me speaking, not him. Interesting. It's just that with every new, he hesitated, year, more and more interesting things happen, and one gets to understand better what's going on. What are you talking about? This conversation positively triggered my curiosity. It's a pity that I can't distinguish the face of this pioneer at all. Well, every session in the pioneer camp reminds me of the previous one, he said calmly. Probably. This is my first. It shows, the pioneer grinned. But it looks like it won't be the last. Well, it's fun here and all, but you know how they say, there's no place like home. But you still have to get back there. Now I was absolutely sure this guy was hiding something from me. To be precise, he stood out too much from the camp's usual ordinariness, and was too different from the local inhabitants. What do you mean? You think I'm stuck here forever or something? I said, enunciating every word. The pioneer had no time to answer as the lunch bell sounded. I turned my head towards the loudspeaker, and by the time I looked back, the guy was already gone. Thousands of theories and speculations instantly appeared in my mind, but I stopped myself remembering all the apparent normality of this camp. After all, nothing supernatural has happened in these 5 days. Moreover, everything here seemed too natural, sometimes even boring. You say that no supernatural things have happened. I mean, this is pretty supernatural if you ask me. But yeah, I mean, Shurik was kind of obsessed. Isn't that supernatural? Did I say obsessed or possessed? I hope I said possessed because that's what I meant. Maybe this period didn't mean anything by that, and I just misunderstood him. Thinking that, I went to the canteen intending to feast. Sometimes it seemed to me that lunch here is akin to the crowds around the soup kitchen during a famine. Pioneers were running around, pushing each other, trying to crawl through for the first meal and take the most comfortable table. No reason at all. I was calmly standing impatiently waiting for the cook to get me my assigned food rations. Okshushka is a traditional Russian cold soup. Cold soup? I mean, to me, cold soups are not food. And it's not really good, I guess. I have a kitty in my room that is being a little bit of a beast. For lunch today we had okrushka, which I didn't really like, and cutlets with potatoes. I sat in a corner and mentally rejoiced that I will be able to eat in peace. My table was the farthest from the kitchen. I could reasonably hope that the pioneers who were looking for a free place wouldn't reach it, or would reach it at last, or would reach it last. However, when I moved on to the main course, Slavia, Shurik, and Electronic appeared from the crowd. Can we? I had nothing against their company, of course. Lunch was going surprisingly calmly, even Electronic, his typo there, wasn't jabbering as he usually does. I finally finished the meal, sprawled my chair, and satisfied clicked my tongue. Listen, do you know this pioneer? I saw him today. You know, He suddenly realized that I don't really know how to describe him. Well, about my height, same constitution. Hard to say from such a description. Slavia smiled. Well, we have half a camp of such guys, if it comes to that. All in all, they were right. Why are you asking? It's just that I met him today, and it seemed like I haven't seen him here before. Look in the canteen. I don't think he'll miss lunch. Why didn't I think of that? That's it. Okay, guys, enjoy your meal. I got up and started to slowly walk along the rows of tables. Lena and Xenia are sitting over there. I gave them a friendly smile. Alexander and Liana are laughing and arguing about something. Olga, Dimitri, and us surrounded by pioneers. Good thing she didn't notice me. There are hardly any free seats, but the guy from this morning is nowhere to be seen. And again, you just completely forgot about Miku. She's sitting over there, I guess. I think that's Miku, because of the light blue hair and that long pigtail there. It seems like it's her pigtail. I don't recognize anyone else, but I feel like this is Miku. Is it a reason that you can see Miku but no one else is here? The situation is getting more and more interesting. Looks like I won't find him here. Maybe he already had lunch. I headed to the exit. It was so hot outside that it seemed like it would instantly melt after coming out of the shade. I suddenly felt like sleeping. I yawned and headed to the camp leader's cabin in order to follow the domestic interpretation of the Archimedes principle. In the end, Olga Dmitrievna is unlikely to return anytime soon, at least I think so, and I will definitely have a couple of hours to rest. Anyways, I really don't expect any other options to arise, especially in this heat. The heavenly coolness in the cabin became my salvation. I took my clothes off and jumped into bed. Crickets were lazily chirping outside. The wind was shaking the curtains on the window, and I sank into a dream. Knocking on the door woke me up. The knocks were soft but insistent. I reluctantly got up and went to open it. Strangely, there was nobody on the doorstep. I rubbed my eyes and stepped out to look around. All the same, no one around. A dream, maybe? It was already 4 o'clock. I felt jaded. I probably shouldn't have slept in the afternoon. After all, I knew what was going to happen. I put on my boots, left the cabin, and locked the door. But where shall I go? All in all, there is not much time till dinner. Suddenly thought came to me that it would be nice to refresh myself, so I went towards the beach. Yeah, let's go to the beach. Let's hope we can see some, Miku. The sun has passed the midday mark a while ago. It gets dark early here in the south. I squinted and looked up at the flaming disk. What was that just now? I flinched. The same mysterious guy was standing in front of me. The same mysterious... I said that. And once again, his face was hard to see due to the bright light. For a moment, the sun blinded me so I could not see anything beside the faint contours of objects. Are you stalking me? No, I was just passing by. He answered calmly. You should know better. So you haven't seen anyone, correct? Oh, I blinked. I rubbed my eyes, but it did not help. Why didn't I see you at lunch? I asked bluntly. I wasn't hungry. He laughed. I blinked a few times and my vision came back, but the pioneer had miraculously disappeared once again. What the hell is going on here? Now I was absolutely sure that there was something strange about that guy. He must be directly related to everything happening around here. I will have to find out. But for starters, it's good to confirm that I'm not mistaken and that he's not just a local pioneer. It was quite crowded at the beach. It looked like everyone from the camp was here. So I can see Miku! Well, no wonder it's so hot outside. Olga Dmitrievna was standing just a bit further apart from everyone, keeping an eye on her army of pioneers. As soon as I thought that coming here might not have been the best idea, she noticed me. Hey, Semya, you weren't at the lineup. And in general, you are just longing around all day. I did not know how to answer. And just how are you planning on becoming a proper pioneer? She continued more softly. Olga Dmitrievna, in the camp, is there a pioneer who looks a lot like me? She looked surprised. Maybe, I don't know. Why do you ask? Oh, I'm just curious. Well, we have a lot of boys here. Alright, never mind. Someone's yell came from the river's side and Olga Dmitrievna rushed in its direction. Well, it looks like I will be spared a lecture. I lowered myself onto the sand and stared at the pioneers playing in the water. After a few minutes of sitting there, Uliana approached me. Why so sad? I'm not sad. Well, why are you here sitting all alone? Just thinking. About what? I decided to spare her my story about the mysterious pioneer. Well, imagine that you're chatting with a weird person, and you have to figure out what exactly is so weird about them. Simple. I would just ask them. She laughed. Too simple. But he won't answer. How do you know? Have you tried asking? No, but it's obvious. Uliana did not answer, just sat down next to me and let out a tired sigh. I'm all swim that. And what if they know something but won't tell you? Make them. But how? For a bit longer we sat together talking about random things and then I got up, said goodbye and went away. It's time to find the mysterious stranger and get all the answers. But, Miku! The first place to visit was the bus stop. After all, this is where it all began. I mean, it's not only Miku, we were... The music stopped. Randomly. But it wasn't only Miku there, it was everyone, Lena, Slavia, you could see anyone in the... The road was empty as always, only small dust tornadoes were occasionally visible on it. I was ready to turn around and go back to the camp, but then I heard someone whisper, "Don't trust him." Someone was hiding behind the monument. A pioneer was sitting there with his back to me, and once again, the voice seemed strangely familiar. "Who are you?" I took a few steps towards him. "Stop, don't come any closer." For some reason, I froze in my tracks. From somewhere deep inside, an assurance came to me, and I understood that I shouldn't argue with him. "Alright, I'll stay here." "Have you seen him? Talked to him?" he asked nervously. "What are you even talking about?" He was dressed in a pioneer uniform. You know who. And I definitely did know. He was talking about the weird pioneer I saw earlier. "Yes?" I answered after a few moments of silence. "What did he tell you?" The pioneer asked in a pleading tone. "Nothing, really. Did he give you advice? Did he tell you what to do? Threaten you?" "No, nothing like that. Of course he seemed pretty weird, but nothing more than that. Remember, he may not be alone, or more likely, he is alone, but you may meet many pioneers here who look like him." "What about you? Who are you? Who are you hiding from?" "You will understand. In time. Just remember the most important thing is to find the exit." Find the exit? I mean, is this camp really trying to trick me in here? Is Slavia brainwashed to stay here? Is Miku? Miku is real though, so. Is Lena brainwashed? I mean, all of a sudden, a strong gust of wind came through, ripping leaves from the trees and throwing an old paper bag into my face. Shielding myself, I averted my eyes. When I looked back at the monument, the pioneer was already gone. At that moment, I was overwhelmed by fear. Real, almost tangible fear. I remember being scared during my first hours at this camp, but back then everything around me seemed kind of friendly. Now Savinok revealed its fangs, getting ready to eat me. And ahead, the unknown, my body was covered in goosebumps, my throat was dry and my hands were shaking. I tried to ignore it all, and headed back to the camp. So the thing is, everyone is scared at the beginning, but they get, like when they get in, it goes longer and longer, and they get used to it, and I don't know. And then they never leave. I tried to ignore it. I tried to ignore it all and headed back to the camp. It was already dinner time, but I had no desire to go to the canteen. After meeting the second mysterious pioneer, just thinking about the locals made me, if not afraid, then at least creeped out. I don't even know who or what they all are. And even though nothing had happened yet, it does not mean I can trust them. I stopped in front of the clubhouse, but then realized that this is not the best spot to be at. I could run into someone, which was not something I wanted to do at the moment. Almost running, I hurried towards the forest and walked a few meters along the path before finally stopping. On one side, the mysterious pioneer, well, two of them to be precise. On the other, all the other inhabitants of this camp who seemed absolutely normal. Either way, my decision to stand back and let everything resolve itself was under some serious pressure. At this point, it was clear to me. I had to do something on my own. But what exactly? Everyone is probably having a dinner, so I have a good chance to make it to Olga Dmitrievna's place without being noticed. I decided to first take my clothes that I wore when I arrived here along with my cell phone. I won't be able to come up with a solid plan right off the bat, so for the time being, I might as well hide in the forest. I leaped up the steps and entered the building. My clothes were right where I left them, and my phone was where it was supposed to be, under my pillow. I quickly grabbed it and was ready to stuff it into my pocket, but then I noticed something on the screen. The message window was open. The text read, "You're wrong, Semyon. You're so wrong." It felt like my soul had left my body. I froze on the spot. I was shaking and my blood was pumping so hard it felt like my skull was going to burst open from the pressure. It took at least a full minute for me to come back to senses. Olga Dmitrievna could have typed in the message, or one of the pioneers. It's easy to figure out how to do it, even if you're not familiar with this technology. But no one besides me should know where I keep the phone. This event was the straw that broke the camel's back. I rushed out of the house, determined never to come back here. Night fell on the camp grounds. I had been sitting in the woods for a few hours, trembling at every noise. The spot that I chose was far away from the path, so it would be hard to find me. I was keeping a few plans in my head for the time being, to try and run, to kill every single person in the camp. However, on the other hand, one thought chased me and realized that I shouldn't behave like this because of some strange pioneer, or even because of that message on the phone. All of this was reinforcing the thought that everything happened here was far from normal. However, there was no proof that anyone in the camp had anything to do with it. I could have stayed here until morning, lost in my own thoughts, but I heard footsteps coming from someone nearby. So you decided to escape after all. I turned around but couldn't see the pioneer's face in the dark. Nevertheless, I was pretty sure that it was him. I wasn't afraid then. More precisely, I was so physically exhausted that I was prepared for any possible course of events, and somehow managed to reason appropriately and to maintain the conversation. I wouldn't call this an escape. I asked slowly, stretching every word. Huh? Then what is it? A tactical retreat? Brilliant. He burst into laughter. This is so fucking exciting. I feel like if this was real, if I was in this camp and didn't meet this guy, I would probably stay there just because of Miku, Slavia, Lena, and it seems peaceful until now. Listen, why don't you tell me what's going on? Who are you and what you want from me? What did that guy tell you at the gate? It seemed that he didn't even hear my question. He told me not to trust you, I lied. But on the other hand, I thought that it was what he meant. Well, that's always the way for him, running away, hiding. I could hear irritation in his voice. I'm not sure what kind of circus you're running here, but I'm not going to be a part of it. Oh, why not? You're the star after all. I couldn't see his face, but I bet he was smiling. And I can see his face, he's smiling. Well, can't really see his face, but he is smiling. Explain my part to me then. You know, I was like you in the beginning. The first time everything went peacefully. Then I escaped. I tried to understand what was going on, got mad and even tortured them to get the truth. He laughed crazily. I shivered. But it was pointless, continued the pioneer after calming down a bit. Pointless. And then I began to notice the lapses. At first I just heard their voices, from a distance and sometimes in my head. Then vague silhouettes appeared. Then they slowly took on physical form. And finally they stepped into my world. I could touch them, introduce them to other pioneers. And they all were different. Different. Do you get it? Different! He started shouting. And it recurred again and again. You can get used to the loops, but then I learned how to get into their worlds by myself, to interact with the others, but it turned out that I'm not alone. There are lots of us. Today, you saw at least one more. He fell silent. I didn't know what question to ask and didn't want to interrupt his story, so I simply waited. After a minute, he continued. It's not that simple, of course, and it's not always possible. Only under certain circumstances, when you feel strong emotions, for example. I instantly remember how I saw him the first time. The time when I didn't feel any emotions at all, including the moments when you feel happy, as if he was reading my thoughts. I see. So you're trying to say that there are several parallel worlds, including the same camp with its inhabitants, where I am replaced by you or that guy I met at the bus stop? Yeah, something like that. His answer didn't surprise me at all. In the end, it's clear that whatever happens here is beyond the limits of human understanding, and this theory didn't even seem all that unusual. But you said that everything recurs. Yes, it recurs. And what will happen afterwards? You start from the very beginning, you look in the bus, come to the camp, meet Olga Dmitrievna, the girls, electronic. But if it happened to you, then why should it happen to me as well? It happens to everyone. Once again he laughed hysterically. And how many loops have you experienced so far? I stopped counting them already. At first I tried to remember them though, maybe a few hundred. No wonder, it was very clear to me that this guy was suffering from a progressing mental dysfunction. But you searched for a way out, didn't you? He didn't answer. That's what that guy at the bus stop was talking about. Because he understands nothing, damn it. He shouted. Because it's just like you, constantly running away, hiding. What would you suggest then? If I had any suggestions, I wouldn't be standing here talking to you. Alright, but you were trying, weren't you? Are you trying to understand what I know since I've been around here for a long time? He asked cheerfully. Well, that's evident. Yes, I did try to run away from here. There. He waved towards the forest. There's nothing there. Nothing but trees. When I had been walking there for several days and finally passed out, I found myself in the bus again. Same for walking along the road. It's endless. Talking to somebody about that is pointless. You probably already understood that by yourself. I did? I interjected. Even if you tried... It wasn't a question, but it made it seem like a question. Sorry, I did. Even if you tried to explain your situation directly at best, you'd just become considered an idiot. What if I try to not leave the bus? It's pointless. Sooner or later, you'll be found. I even tried to spend the entire time there. In the end, I fell asleep and everything started from the beginning. And what if you started by yourself and leave? No keys. And I don't have any carjacking skills. A cursed cycle. Exactly. A long silence fell. Finally I asked, and what about the people around here? Don't they raise absolutely reasonable suspicions? Suspicions? Laughter again. The only thing that is suspicious about them is that no matter how much you tell them, they stare at you with their eyes out of stalks. The people. I fear them at first too. Then I use them for different experiments. And now I don't consider them humans. They're all dolls, puppets. You can easily predict any reaction, any word or action. So they aren't worth fearing, are they? The one worth fearing is yourself, he said softly. Do you know how funny it is when human bones crack as they slowly break from this tension? Looks like he has finally lost his marbles. Listen, I understand everything, but the other one thinks that's a bit much too. But it doesn't matter. Nobody but you is real here. The pioneer suddenly fell silent. Well, no, I don't agree with you. You're probably thinking why I didn't check this out by myself, aren't you? Why I didn't try to reach the nearest village or town? Yes, I did have such thoughts. Why wasn't I suspicious? Why was I doing different stuff instead of searching for answers? Well, yes. Forget about it. That's normal. We all behave like this for the first time here. But how many others have you seen so far? Not that many. The pioneer was lost in thought. About 10 people maybe? But I'm sure there are many more of them. And? Is everyone like this? In fact, yes. Only the details are different, but the main thing is invariable. There's no way out of here. And by the way, you're just like the majority of them. The only thing that differs is that you have heard everything from me instead of experiencing it for yourself. I don't know if I should thank him for that. Well, and what now? Nothing, he said shortly. I closed my eyes and lost myself in thought. That was a critical mistake. When I opened the eyes, I didn't see anybody, just like the previous times. So it's clear what's going on now. But in fact, how could everything he said guide me to an answer? Yes, I'm not alone. Yes, everything recurs. But what's the reason for all this? And what is more important, where's the way out? The only useful thing that I extracted from the conversation was that the local inhabitants were not fearing. So I guess he's kinda helping me try to get out. And that was quite significant to me for now, since it was much better to sleep in a warm cabin instead of the forest. I sighed, took my things, and headed towards the camp. As I was walking, the conversation with my fellow sufferer popped up in my mind every now and then. Why did I not ask him about the message on my phone and some other stuff? There were hints after all. Maybe if I had found some details out, I could have drawn some conclusions. However, it didn't seem like our meeting would be the last one. The lights were on in Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. I opened the door gently and went in. Speak of the devil, here you are, the camp leader said angrily. Olga Dmitrievna, I'm so tired now, so let's put off the lecture. Tired from what, I wonder? From everything, I snapped rudely. The camp leader looked at me with surprise. I fell into bed without undressing. Semyon, a role model pioneer shouldn't behave like that. And how should he behave then? Well, not like that. The camp leader stumbled for a moment as if struggling to pick the right words. He should respect his seniors. I respect you immensely, for sure. Semyon. The sarcasm in my voice didn't go unnoticed. And now I'd like to sleep. Wait, by the way, how far is the nearest town? When does the bus arrive? How can I even get out of here? I asked in a surprisingly calm voice. There was no answer, and there shouldn't have been any. I said all this just in order to get rid of her. Why are you silent? I'm tired. Let's talk about that tomorrow. The camp leader got up and turned off the light. I'm sorry, Olga. Yes, it's all just like that guy said. Why did I speak to him so calmly and properly, I wonder? I should have been shivering from horror. The pioneer didn't have much credibility, but I had a feeling that he's unable to harm me. As soon as I thought that it would be a good idea to ask something else, fatigue overtook me and I passed out. Is it a new day or is it a dream? It's a new day, so this is where we're gonna be ending off this one. I feel like there's not many episodes left. It's probably like 2 episodes more, maybe 3. I don't know how long the 7th day is. It's been a long time since I played it last. But I will be ending it here and hopefully see what is happening next time. So now it's starting to get really exciting because we met ourselves. And he was like, I tortured them. I heard their bones cracking. Oh, do you know how good that feels? Ugh. So it was pretty scary. Pretty cool. Now is the best part of the game. This is where the best part of the game is. Yes, you fell over Slavia, almost kissing her. Yes, you were with Mika, playing guitar and singing. Yes, you and Lena were dancing close. You were holding each other. And it's just... that was just And the nurse, no, the nurse bending over, that's pretty good stuff. And we saw Miku panties when we first met Miku. So, I mean, um, but anyway, that is like those things are just nothing compared to this part because this is just so much going on. Ah, I don't have words. It's just so exciting to me. I love this game. This is where the exciting things happen. This is where the best thing of the game is happening. We are getting towards an end to the game too, so that is also a plus, but also a minus because this is a pretty good game. I would love to play more, but oh well. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. So thank you. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Bye bye.